Hey guys, welcome back to the show, and on this episode, I'm going to be talking about a movie that proves why you should never trust scientists, because you never know what they're really up to until it's too late. Now, you've seen me cover movies about people being turned into alligators, people being turned into jellyfish, but you've never seen me cover a movie about someone being turned into a snake. Which, once again, I have to ask the question, is it really that far-fetched? Do reptilian people walk among us right now? Well, I don't know for sure, but this movie really does add to the evidence, which is really piling up. It's a movie called Sssss, and it's not pronounced S-S-S-S-S-S-S-S. It's Sssss. See, it says right here on the poster, don't say it, hiss it, which would probably make for some awkward conversations when this movie came out, you know? Like, hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? I've been hearing good things about Sssss. Or we could go see Serpico. But I've kind of got my heart set on Sssss. So the movie starts by telling us that all the reptiles in this movie are real, and it thanks the cast and crew working under these conditions, which reminds me of another movie where the cast and crew had to work under hazardous conditions. The movie Roar, where instead of snakes, they had to work with lions. So the movie begins with Dr. Stoner selling some sort of creature to this man for $800 in the middle of the night. And just who is Dr. Stoner? What's his deal? Well, you're gonna find out. Just be patient. Now we're at a college class being taught by Ken Daniels, who catches his students passing notes in class and decides to be a total creep about it.
Dr. Daniels, I don't want you to think...
Oh, but thinking comes naturally to me, Kitty. Just as, apparently...
Could you imagine that? Someone passes you a note, and the next thing you know, the teacher's keeping you after class and awkwardly and inappropriately touching your arm. Luckily, Dr. Stoner is there to interrupt, and she's able to escape. So Dr. Stoner is there because he's asking the department of whatever to extend his grant, and Ken is the head of this department. And Stoner is like, come on, man, I've got all this venom research, just give me the money. And while you're at it, send me another one of your students to help. The last one left on short notice. I mean, you know how college kids are, always leaving stuff. And Ken is like, dude, you come over here asking me for all these favors, and yet you've never called me doctor before. And you really should. I mean, call me doctor, man. Come on, do it. Just once, call me doctor.
I'm sorry, Ken. It's not Ken. It's Dr. Daniels, Dr. Stoner. Agreed. Say it. Dr. Daniels.
So Stoner is like, Dr. Daniels. And now Ken is all giddy, like, all right, you got it. In fact, I have a student in mind that would be perfect for you. The student he's talking about is, of course, David, who is currently being threatened by this guy, Steve, who, by the way, would grow up to become Yor, the hunter from the future, as I've talked about in a past episode. Anyways, Steve is pissed off because David got Kitty into trouble when Steve passed the note to David to pass to Kitty. And if you're wondering how that makes any sense, it doesn't. Steve's a moron. Anyways, David is super excited to become Dr. Stoner's new assistant.
Oh, it's all right, Harry. This is Harry, my obedient servant.
See, that's the thing about exotic pets. They're always obedient until they're not. So Dr. Stoner is like, okay, hang on. Before we go to my lab, I gotta give my snake some booze. Imagine that explanation if you get pulled over. Oh, no, officer, that's not for me. That's for my snake. Between you and me, I think he's got a bit of a problem. But I just don't know how to bring it up to him. And even if I did, I don't think he'd listen. You know? So they go to a gas station to get some gas. David sees the attendant is busy, so he starts pumping the gas. But the guy isn't too happy about that.
Now, I am sorry about that. Then maybe that piece of the ass before you touch?
Oh yeah, just spill some gas on him. That's totally warranted and very safe. So this is probably one of those old school, completely full serve gas stations where, only the attendant is allowed to pump the gas, probably because, they don't want the customer accidentally spilling any gas. The irony here is that the only spillage is from the attendant. So then he goes to pop open the hood to check the oil, and Harry the snake shows him what's up.
You crazy or something? Carrying a snake around like that in the car?
Sorry, but that'll teach you to ask before you touch.
Oh yeah, man, those are the type of burns that you can't pass up that opportunity. He'd probably be telling people for days. And I couldn't blame him, you know, that's a great anecdote for the next couple weeks or months at parties. That's one of those things where you can just, you know, he's gonna tell the story, you know, as he's there and then I said, so they get to the lab and Dr. Stoner is like, here's the thing about snakes. Some of them are bad, but some of them are good. See, this one isn't gonna bite. I'll prove it.
See him run away from my finger? Put your finger in there.
Yeah, go ahead. Just stick your finger in there, David. David, stick your finger in there. David, stick it in. So anyways, Dr. Stoner is like, I'm happy you're here to help me out from now on. I basically run this whole lab with just me and my daughter, Christina. Now I hope you're not afraid of needles because I'm about to jab you in the arm.
What is this, some kind of antibiotic?
It's funny because these are the types of questions I'd be asking before he gave me the needle. Things like, what's in that? What's this gonna do to me? Why do you have that crazy look in your eyes? So he's like, oh, yeah, this will protect you from the venom and stuff. You know, hey, I'm trying to save your life here, David. Just trust me. I mean, come on. I'm a doctor who you just met who runs a lab out of his house with his daughter, and I put my life on the line every weekend for a tiny bit of cash. What about that doesn't inspire absolute confidence? So then Dr. Stoner is like, hey, you want to see my king cobra? Check it out. Look how big it is. I've had it for 6 years, and it still doesn't like me. But I cheat death every weekend by putting on a show with it. Anyways, over dinner, Dr. Stoner is like, hey, David, do you like religion and stuff? And David's like, and Stoner starts going on about how mankind is gonna go extinct, and that he wants to find a way for man to evolve in order to survive.
Well, forget man. What about woman? Who's going to help me wash the dishes?
I will. Oh. I feel so sleepy.
Oh yeah, I see where he's going with this. When I was a kid, I could write a book on how to get out of doing chores. My only criticism is that being a bit sleepy isn't going to elicit any sympathy. You know, you gotta go with the whole, oh man, you know, my stomach, something's not agreeing. I'm sorry guys, I gotta go lie down for about 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it usually takes you to do the dishes. Let me know when we're having dessert. Anyway, Stoner is like, okay, so here's the thing. Since I injected you with some venom, you're going to sleep for a long time. But the good news is that cobra venom is one of nature's strongest hallucinogens, so you're gonna trip balls, man. Have fun. Again, this is all the stuff I think he should have been told before the inoculation. You know, that it may cause him to not only sleep through the night, but sleep through the next day as well. And the whole time he's going to be hallucinating like crazy. That all seems like important info to relay. So David goes to sleep, and I'll be honest with you, these seem like the tamest hallucinations of all time. My dreams are much more convincing and terrifying than this. You know what I still have recurring nightmares about? Being in school and missing assignments. I graduated college 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. But the one I have the most, and I'm not even joking, is forgetting to return videotapes. Seriously, I have a recurring dream where I find a tape that I rented from Blockbuster like 20 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, the late fees on this are gonna put me in debt for the rest of my life. And that's the thing about dreams, because the logical part of your brain is just completely out to lunch. So at no point am I just like, oh yeah, Blockbuster doesn't even exist anymore, so free movie. Anyways, during David's long, I don't know, sexy beach dream, Stoner is just sitting there watching him, which in itself is super creepy, but to make it worse, he starts getting his snake drunk again. So what exactly does he have planned for tonight? So now it's 2 days later, and it's time for the show, where Dr. Stoner just kind of dances around the cobra for a bit. And he's like, please, no flash photography. But of course, some guy is like, screw it, I don't care if he gets bit and dies. I need to remember this moment. Finally, Dr. Stoner grabs the cobra and asks people for donations for, you know, risking his life to give them a show.
Only $18.15.
better than last week.
Now, some of you are probably thinking, $20, that's nothing. Well, look at you. Money bags over there, sitting behind your fancy computer screen. $20 is $20. Think about it this way. If you could be $20 richer and all you had to do was dance with a king cobra, wouldn't you? No? Yeah, that actually makes sense. It's really not worth it. So now things really start getting weird as David discovers that he feels really cold and that his skin is starting to peel off. And Dr. Stoner is like, oh, don't be worried about that. That's just the venom killing the outer layer of your skin. Stoner keeps giving David more needles, and look, I understand David's position. He trusts Dr. Stoner. But at the same time, I would be like, you know what? I've been feeling really weird ever since this started. And this guy's injecting me with something every day. Maybe I should just, get a second opinion. But maybe it has something to do with the fact that David and Christina are starting to get pretty close. And over the next few weeks, on and on it goes. Needles, snakes, hallucinations, Christina, rinse and repeat. Which, again, at some point, I'd be like, okay, doctor, how many more injections am I gonna need to get? Is this just my life now? Honestly, when I finished college, I was desperate to get my foot in the door, but you gotta draw the line somewhere. This is where David really shoots his shot. And I mean really goes for broke here. He doesn't ask her out on a date or anything like that. He's just like, hey, Christina, let's get naked and go swimming. And to his credit, Christina is into it. But I think the Cobra knows what's going on between them and is like, what the hell is this? That's my woman. So then they go to the carnival and there's a freak show there. And I'm just curious, for anyone who's, a little bit older watching this, was this a thing back in the 70s? Because, when I was a kid, I went to plenty of carnivals and stuff. There was never a freak show. And nowadays, the thought never even crosses your mind to go out and see some freaks. You just go online and there's plenty. But I guess back then, this was the best way to look at other people's situations and feel better about yours, because TLC wasn't a TV channel yet. So Christina doesn't want to look at the freaks, but David just can't help himself. And inside the freak tent, he sees some kind of half-human, half-snake person. But look who's at the carnival. It's Steve. And I guess he's still pissed off about the note passing fiasco. So there's a fight, and finally David bites him on the neck. And look, I'm just gonna say this. I don't blame him for fighting dirty. I really don't. Honestly, screw that shit. If you're being bullied by someone, I say all bets are off. Biting, shots to the nuts, hair pulling, spitting. I'm still talking about fighting, by the way. Do whatever you gotta do to get this person to leave you alone. But after the cops break things up, David manages to really get Steve heated.
Crazy. It's not crazy, you goddamn Neanderthal. Neanderthal! I don't like the sound.
I mean, wow, back in the 70s, that must have been quite the slur. Anyway, Steve and his friends go off to forget about the fight by going to see the Carnival Go-Go Dancer? Where are these carnivals and how do I get tickets?
Okay. All set. Should do it for $10. $10 each or $10 for all of us? $10 each. What do you think? She's some cheap hooker?
Yeah, what the hell is wrong with you? This is a high-class carnival prostitute, not some back alley hooker. You're paying for the full experience here. Not just the sex, but the whole carnival atmosphere during the sex. The sounds of the people on the Ferris wheel, the smell of corn dogs, popcorn, and vomit. You're not gonna get that anywhere else. Except maybe the circus. And I mean, come on, who has sex at the circus? Anyways, Steve is pissed off because he doesn't have to pay for sex. And he says that Christina wanted it. But, that stupid David is always in the way. So he goes to Dr. Stoner's house to go get it. Yes, he's so appalled at the idea of paying for sex that rape is the better option. So he gets to the house, checks the trellis to see if it will support his weight. He still has time to realize how insanely horrible this is, but luckily, Harry the snake is there to stop him. But during the struggle, Steve kills the snake.
You people are nuts! All of you! Keeping snakes around like that!
Harry!
Freaks! That's what you are, a bunch of snake freaks!
Yeah, you're all a bunch of freaks. I just came here for some sexual assault, but you just had to keep snakes in the house. So, this is really your fault, really. And if I can be honest, I actually felt really bad for the snake here. I mean, it's not a character that says anything, obviously, but you do get a sense of the connection these people had with the snake. So Dr. Stoner goes and decides to take matters into his own hands by going over to Steve's place while he's in the shower and throwing a black mamba in there. And I have to say, this is a really horrible way to die. When I die one day, I really hope that I'm clothed. I just think that if people found me dead and naked, it might make things a little awkward for them. And that's just not the note that I want to go out on. Anyways, while the doctor is out, it gives Christina and David the chance to hook up.
I think you're supposed to say something.
I love you.
I didn't mean that.
Oh, dude, that is rough. I really don't know what else to say about that. You've got to be 100% sure that the other person feels the same way before you let that genie out of the bottle. You can't put it back in. And seriously, what did you think was going to happen? The two of you have been on one official date to the carnival. So they hear Dr. Stoner pull up and they're like, oh crap. Which honestly, having sex so close to the front door, that is a risky play. However, that would have been a hilarious interaction if he would have caught the two of them. What in God's name is going on here? Premarital sex? I leave the house for 1 hour to go and commit murder, which is beside the point, and I have to come home to my house being riddled with sin. So Dr. Stoner is like, oh crap, this is bad. So he tries to tell Christina, look, you can't bang this guy because there's certain reasons. I can't tell you what they are, but they're serious. And if you haven't figured it out yet, basically, Dr. Stoner is crazy, and he's trying to come up with a way to evolve humans into snakes to prevent mankind from going extinct. And the last student that he used in his experiments turned into, a disfigured freak, and he just sold him to the carnival. So that's why he doesn't want Christina hooking up with David, but he can't exactly tell her why, even though that would be hilarious. Look, you can't have sex with him because I'm doing experiments on him to turn him into a snake person. And if you get pregnant, you'll be pregnant with the snake baby. Is that what you want? A snake baby? Because then everywhere you go, everyone will look at your snake baby and assume you've been banging snakes. And banging snakes is not socially acceptable. Yet. David wakes up the next day and it looks like he's turning into a snake. So he freaks out and Stoner is like, oh no, that's okay, you're just sensitive to the venom. But look who shows up, it's Kenny the Creep. And he's like, yeah, you're not getting approved for the grant. And can I see David? And Stoner's like, no, he's, busy doing lab stuff with lab things like beakers and tubes and shit. And Ken's like, fine. So he leaves, but on his way back, he's like, crap, I really want David to see how cool I look in this new hat. So he comes back and sneaks around the outside of the lab until he sees the horrifying truth. So then Stoner chains him up in the cellar and is like, you want to escape? Well, there's 2 tanks here with 2 snakes and a key in each one. One of these snakes will kill you, the other won't. Since you're so smart when it comes to snakes, you should be able to tell which one is harmless and be able to get the key and escape. So basically, Dr. Stoner is now turned into the jigsaw killer, I guess. So Ken gets the key, but before he can escape, oh crap, there's a python down there, and it kills him, which really isn't fair if you ask me. I mean, he played the Saw minigame and won, so he should be able to escape. Anyways, the python eats him, and I have to say, that's one way of getting rid of a body. I mean, the snake would be huge for a while, but even if the cops come by looking for him, you can just be like, oh yeah, that's my obese python over there. And he's actually really sensitive about his weight, so I would appreciate you not staring. Meanwhile, Christina has traveled to the carnival to see if this snake person is actually real. And holy crap, it is. It's Tim, the last student Dr. Stoner worked with. And look at David now back at the lab. He's slowly but surely transforming. Okay, I'm sorry. I know you're probably looking at this thinking that this looks completely ridiculous, but you gotta remember this movie came out in 1973. That's almost 50 years ago. So considering that, this sequence really isn't that bad. Now that David has gone full snake mode, Stoner, who is clearly a total psycho, goes to his cobra and is like, hey, can we have a conversation outside? And I'm really not sure what he was looking to get out of this, but the cobra just bites him. And, well, that's the end of Stoner. And then this just turns into a gong show. The mongoose gets loose and starts going after David, and Christina gets there and finds her dad. Then the police get there and kablamo! Then they go into the lab and see the mongoose attacking David, and the movie just ends. Well, I mean, even if the cops couldn't get a clear shot, couldn't you try to do something? Like, you work with snakes all day. There's gotta be a stick or something in there that you can use to try and help them. This movie is actually pretty interesting. I mean, it's not a great movie in my opinion, but from a technical standpoint, it's pretty well made. And from what I've read, the venomous snakes in this movie were not defanged. So they really were working with loaded guns, so to speak. I think my biggest problem with this movie is that the climax doesn't really feel like much of a climax. Quite honestly, I was expecting a lot more, but it's definitely weird. And on that note, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next time. Some guy passes you a note, and the next thing you know, the teacher's keeping you after class and awkwardly touching your arm. I would be throwing some left and rights like there was no tomorrow. Imagine the person reading the script and like, yeah, I think we should change the name from Snake Man to just Sssss. Yeah, what the hell is wrong with you? This is a high-class carnival prostitute, not some kind of back alley hooker.